Change your life in 3 days with powerful self-talk. Have you ever noticed that the voice inside your head seems to be in control of your emotions, actions, and even your destiny? It's a voice that never stops speaking, whether you want it to or not. This voice is responsible for how we perceive the world, how we react to challenges, and how we see ourselves. But what if this voice, the one that constantly whispers doubts, fears, and judgments, could be changed? Imagine if, for just 3 days, you could transform the way you speak to yourself. What could happen? This simple but powerful practice, grounded in Zen and Buddhist teachings, can change everything. In this video, I'll take you through a story and philosophy that reveal how altering your self-talk can lead to remarkable changes in your life. Chapter 1. The Invisible Weight We Carry. The invisible weight we carry is often invisible even to ourselves. It's not something we can physically see, but it can be felt deeply within our minds and hearts. This weight isn't caused by external pressures but by the constant barrage of negative thoughts, self-criticism, and judgment that arise from our inner voice. This voice, often harsh and unforgiving, keeps us stuck in patterns of self-doubt and insecurity. It makes us believe that we are not enough, that we are undeserving of success, love, or peace. Over time, this negative self-talk becomes ingrained, almost like an internal script that runs on repeat in our minds, influencing our decisions, our relationships, and our overall sense of well-being. In Buddhism, this inner voice is often associated with the concept of dukkha, or suffering, which arises from attachment to our self-image and the judgment we place upon ourselves. This voice ties us to a fixed idea of who we think we are, often based on past experiences or perceived failures. We become trapped in the narrative that we are unworthy or flawed, reinforcing a cycle of suffering. What we don't realize is that this voice, while loud and persistent, does not define us. It is not the truth of who we are, rather, it is the product of conditioned thinking and negative patterns formed over time. But what if we could challenge this voice? What if we could replace the criticism with compassion, the judgment with understanding, and the doubt with self-belief? Buddhism teaches us that mindfulness and self-compassion can help us break free from these habitual patterns of thought. When we become aware of the negative voice, we can begin to question its validity. Is it really true that we are not enough? Is it true that we don't deserve happiness or success? By bringing mindfulness to these thoughts, we can begin to detach from them, recognizing that they are not a reflection of our true nature but simply fleeting mental patterns. In meditation, we can practice observing these thoughts without judgment, allowing them to arise and pass without reacting to them. This helps us to break the cycle of identification with our negative inner voice. As we cultivate self-compassion, we can begin to speak to ourselves with kindness and patience, just as we would speak to a dear friend who is struggling. Instead of focusing on what we've done wrong, we focus on what we can learn, how we can grow, and how we can move forward with a sense of grace. When we replace self-criticism with encouragement, we begin to experience the world differently. We become more resilient, more open to change, and more willing to embrace both our strengths and weaknesses. This shift in perspective doesn't mean that we ignore our flaws or mistakes, but rather that we approach them with understanding and the desire to learn, rather than to punish ourselves. In doing so, we release the invisible weight that has been holding us back, allowing us to move through life with greater ease and joy. The voice within us has tremendous power, but we have the ability to choose how we listen to it. By shifting from a voice of judgment to one of compassion, we free ourselves from the invisible weight of self-doubt and criticism. This simple yet profound change allows us to step into our true potential, embracing life with greater confidence, kindness, and peace. Chapter 2. The Power of Self-Talk. In Zen and Buddhist philosophy, the mind is often referred to as the first temple, a sacred space where our thoughts and emotions take root. This internal temple is where we cultivate peace, wisdom, and compassion, or where we foster suffering, negativity, and confusion. The way we speak to ourselves within this space is crucial. It shapes not only how we view ourselves, but also how we interact with the world around us. Our inner dialogue, or self-talk, is a powerful force that either nurtures or harms our mental and emotional state. Just like a garden, the mind requires attention and care. If we plant seeds of doubt, fear, and self-criticism, we grow a garden of anxiety, stress, and discontent. On the other hand, if we nurture it with words of kindness, understanding, and encouragement, we cultivate peace, resilience, and clarity. The Buddhist teachings emphasize mindfulness, not just of the world around us but also of the thoughts and language we use within our own minds. This mindfulness allows us to notice when our thoughts turn negative and gives us the opportunity to gently shift them towards something more compassionate and constructive. The power of self-talk is not just an abstract concept, it is something that can be tested and proven. Every day, we engage in an ongoing conversation with ourselves. Whether we are aware of it or not, this dialogue influences our actions, decisions, and emotions. For example, when we face a challenge, our internal response, whether it's one of encouragement or self-doubt, determines how we approach the situation. If our self-talk is filled with criticism, we may hesitate, withdraw, or avoid taking action altogether. But when we replace this negative inner voice with one of kindness and confidence, we are more likely to approach the challenge with a sense of calm and determination. This shift in perspective aligns closely with Buddhist principles of self-compassion and mindfulness. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from attachment and aversion, and much of our suffering is self-inflicted through negative thinking. By practicing mindful self-awareness, we can observe our thoughts without judgment and begin to let go of those that lead to suffering. Just as we wouldn't allow harmful words from others to dictate our actions, we must learn not to allow our own negative self-talk to control our lives. The beauty of this practice is that it doesn't require any drastic change in external circumstances. We don't need to change the world around us to find peace. We only need to change the way we speak to ourselves. By cultivating a more compassionate inner dialogue, we can transform our mental landscape and, by extension, our experience of life. This doesn't mean we won't face difficulties or challenges, but by shifting how we approach these situations internally, we can navigate them with greater ease and equanimity. Incorporating mindful self-talk into our daily lives doesn't require perfection. It's about making small, consistent shifts. Begin by simply noticing the tone of your inner dialogue. Are you being kind to yourself? Are you encouraging yourself in the face of setbacks? If not, practice replacing negative thoughts with affirmations that are loving, supportive, and grounded in reality. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but with time, it can lead to profound changes in your mental and emotional well-being. The power of self-talk is immense, and by choosing to speak to ourselves with compassion, we begin to transform not only our inner world but our experience of life as a whole. Chapter 3: The Traveler's Journey. The traveler's journey symbolizes the search we all undergo for inner peace, often believing that external circumstances, wealth, success, or experiences are the keys to happiness. Like the traveler, many of us seek fulfillment in things outside ourselves. Yet we find that no matter what we achieve, our minds remain restless. The Master's teachings reveal an essential truth. Peace is not found by eliminating our thoughts, but by transforming how we relate to them. This is a profound insight in Buddhist philosophy. Our thoughts are not the enemy, but our attachment and reactions to them create suffering. The traveler's restless mind represents the common human experience of being overwhelmed by negative thoughts. doubts, and worries. These thoughts often dictate how we perceive the world and ourselves, causing anxiety, stress, and confusion. But the Master's advice suggests a shift in perspective. Instead of trying to suppress or eliminate thoughts, which is impossible and ultimately counterproductive, we are encouraged to transform them from within. The key here is mindfulness, the practice of observing thoughts without judgment or attachment. By simply recognizing our thoughts for what they are, fleeting, impermanent mental events, we can detach from them. This allows us to take a step back and consciously choose how we respond. Replacing harsh, self-critical thoughts with kind, compassionate ones creates a new mental environment that supports peace and contentment. In the Buddhist teachings, this is akin to the practice of cultivating right thought, developing a mindset that nurtures wisdom, kindness, and understanding. The transformation of thoughts isn't about ignoring challenges or pretending that everything is perfect. Instead, it's about approaching life with a sense of acceptance and curiosity. When we experience negative thoughts, rather than letting them control us, we can meet them with compassion and kindness. If we think, "I'm not good enough," we can replace that with, "I am enough as I am." If we feel overwhelmed by life's demands, we can reframe it as an opportunity to practice patience and resilience. By teaching our thoughts to speak differently, we change not only how we perceive our experiences but how we navigate them. In essence, the traveler's journey reflects the universal quest for peace and balance. The Master's wisdom offers a simple yet powerful practice, teaching our thoughts to speak differently. This shift in how we relate to our thoughts can transform our entire experience of life. The peace we seek is not out there, but within us, in the way we engage with our inner world. Through mindfulness, compassion, and right thought, we can replace restlessness with clarity and suffering with peace. Day 1. A battle against old thoughts. On day 1, the traveler embarked on a journey of self-awareness, beginning with the simple but profound practice of observing his thoughts. As he sat quietly, he became aware of the repetitive, harsh voice in his mind, a voice filled with self-criticism. It was an old voice, one he had grown accustomed to, often triggered by memories of past mistakes. Whenever a memory surfaced, the voice would say, "You always fail. You're not good enough." It was a familiar, painful narrative that had followed him for years, shaping his sense of self. But instead of accepting this voice as truth, the traveler chose a different path. He responded not with resistance, but with a mindful shift in perspective. "I am learning. I have grown from my mistakes." This was the beginning of the traveler's inner transformation. By acknowledging the negative thought but not letting it define him, he took the first step in reclaiming his power over his own mind. He realized that while he could not control the thoughts that arose, he could control how he responded to them. The practice continued throughout the day. Every time a doubt or negative belief surfaced, such as, "They won't care what you have to say," the traveler countered it with a positive affirmation, "I have wisdom to share. I am worthy of being heard." Slowly, the traveler began to replace his habitual self-criticism with messages of self-compassion and encouragement. Each time he did so, he felt a slight shift within himself. It wasn't easy, and the old voice still lingered. But with each conscious shift, the negative voice grew quieter. By the end of the day, something remarkable had begun to happen. The old voice, though still present, no longer held the same power over him. It was as if each positive affirmation weakened the grip of the negative voice, allowing the traveler to feel a sense of peace and control over his inner dialogue. The more he practiced speaking to himself differently, the less influence the old patterns of thought had on his emotional state. The traveler learned that by replacing self-criticism with self-encouragement, he could gradually change the narrative in his mind and take back his inner peace. Day 2. A shift in energy. On the second day, the traveler experienced a subtle but noticeable shift. His body felt lighter, and his steps were more confident. It was as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders, and he moved through the world with more ease. He began to realize that this shift wasn't just physical, it was mental and emotional as well. The way he saw the world and interacted with others had started to change. He noticed that his thoughts toward people no longer carried judgment or sympathy. Instead, he saw them with understanding, recognizing that everyone, like him, was on their own journey, facing their own struggles. When others shared their difficulties with him, the traveler no longer viewed them as failures or obstacles, but as fellow travelers. He saw their struggles as part of the natural process of life, much like his own. This shift in perspective was a direct result of the internal changes he had been making. The way he spoke to himself, replacing harsh judgments with kindness and encouragement, had opened his heart and mind to a deeper sense of compassion for others. It was as if his own healing had made him more attuned to the struggles of those around him. The most powerful moment of day 2 came during his meditation practice. As he sat in stillness, the old voice, the one of self-doubt and criticism, tried to resurface, but this time, it was weaker. The new voice, one that spoke with kindness, encouragement, and acceptance, had gained more influence. The traveler felt a quiet sense of peace as he acknowledged both voices, but chose to listen to the new one. This was a significant realization. The change wasn't just happening within him, but was also beginning to transform how he interacted with the world. The traveler understood that by changing the way he spoke to himself, he was not only changing his own experience, but also shifting the way he connected with others. Day 3. A new reality. By the third day, the traveler experienced a profound transformation that went beyond what he had anticipated. As he walked through the streets, he passed a group of people he had once feared to approach. But now, instead of retreating or doubting himself, the new voice inside him spoke first. "You belong wherever you choose to stand." The words were not just comforting, they were empowering. He realized that his sense of belonging wasn't determined by the approval of others but by his own acceptance of himself in any situation. When faced with a challenging task, the old voice would have typically whispered, "You're not capable." But this time, the traveler's new voice took over, filled with confidence and reassurance. "You've overcome many things. You will overcome this too." The shift was clear. Where he once saw obstacles as insurmountable, he now saw them as opportunities to grow. This change was not just an external one, but an internal revolution. The traveler had stopped being his own enemy. For the first time, he was his own ally, speaking to himself with kindness and encouragement rather than fear and self-doubt. Later that evening, the traveler met with the master again to share his experience. He explained that the most significant change had not come from altering his external circumstances, but from transforming how he spoke to himself. The master listened thoughtfully, nodding in understanding. He replied, "Now you understand the greatest teaching of all. Your reality is shaped not by what happens to you, but by how you speak to yourself about it." This final lesson struck the traveler deeply. He now understood that the power to change his life was within him all along. By shifting the narrative in his mind, he could create a new reality, one where he was free from the chains of self-doubt and fear. Chapter 4. The Power of Self-Talk, a Lifetime of Transformation. The power of self-talk is one of the most transformative forces in our lives. It shapes not only how we view ourselves but also how we perceive the world around us. Just as the traveler learned, our internal dialogue dictates how we respond to life's challenges and opportunities. When we engage in negative self-talk, we create a reality built on fear, insecurity, and self-doubt. This mindset can limit our potential, hold us back from growth, and cloud our sense of peace. On the other hand, positive self-talk opens up new possibilities. It fosters confidence, resilience, and a sense of empowerment that allows us to face life with courage and clarity. The transformation the traveler experienced was not due to any external change, but a deep shift within. He realized that by changing the way he spoke to himself, he could change how he experienced life. This shift didn't happen overnight, but it was built through consistent effort and practice. The traveler discovered that our minds are like gardens, if left unattended. Negativity and self-doubt can take root and grow, much like weeds. However, with mindful attention and care, we can replace these weeds with positive affirmations, self-compassion, and a more constructive inner dialogue. Over the course of just 3 days, the traveler learned to cultivate his mental garden. He began to replace self-criticism with encouragement and doubt with belief. His circumstances remained the same, but his perception of those circumstances shifted. He saw challenges as opportunities, and setbacks as lessons for growth. Through this process, he experienced a newfound sense of peace and clarity. This journey underscores a powerful truth. Our internal dialogue shapes our external reality. When we change the way we speak to ourselves, we transform not just our thoughts, but the very way we experience the world. The power to create a life of peace, confidence, and opportunity lies in the words we speak within our own minds. By tending to our thoughts with care and cultivating positive self-talk, we can create a flourishing garden of mental and emotional well-being. Chapter 5. The Law of the Mind. The traveler's experience over those 3 days illustrates a profound truth about the mind that applies to us all. The mind is incredibly malleable, and its beliefs are shaped by what we repeatedly tell ourselves. If we tell ourselves that we are not enough, that we will never succeed, or that we always fail, these words become ingrained in our consciousness. Over time, these repeated thoughts create beliefs that limit our potential and shape the way we experience the world. The more we affirm these negative thoughts, the more we reinforce the patterns of doubt and insecurity, preventing us from stepping into our true power. This is the law of the mind. What we say to ourselves becomes what we believe, and our beliefs shape our reality. However, this is not a fixed law. It is not a fate we are condemned to. The good news is that we have the power to change our inner dialogue. We can choose to replace self-criticism with self-compassion, fear with courage, and doubt with belief. By consciously shifting the words we use with ourselves, we begin to change the internal narrative that governs our lives. Instead of reinforcing a cycle of negativity, we create a new cycle of positivity and empowerment. The key to this transformation lies in mindfulness and intention. We do not need external circumstances to change in order to feel differently. All that is required is a shift in how we view ourselves. By becoming aware of our thoughts and consciously choosing to speak to ourselves with kindness, encouragement, and belief, we can begin to rewire the way we think. This shift does not happen overnight, but with consistent practice, it can lead to a complete transformation in how we feel, act, and experience life. In essence, we hold the power to reshape our reality by changing the way we speak to ourselves. The mind is not a passive recipient of negative beliefs. It is an active participant in creating the life we experience. When we choose to speak words of positivity and compassion, we give ourselves the opportunity to grow, to overcome challenges, and to live a life filled with peace, confidence, and possibility. Conclusion. The practice of changing your self-talk for just 3 days can lead to profound changes in your life. But the true test lies in continuing this practice beyond 3 days. The old voice may try to return, but with awareness and intentionality, you can continue to speak to yourself with kindness and belief. Over time, this practice will become a natural part of your life, and the voice that once held you back will become the voice that propels you forward. So, I encourage you to try this practice for yourself. For 3 days, speak to yourself with love, compassion, and belief. Watch what happens, and when the doubts and old voices return, remember that you have the power to choose a new path. You are the creator of your own mind, and with each kind word you speak to yourself, you shape the life you want to live. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Let me know in the comments how this practice changes your life. I can't wait to hear about your journey.